The last survivor smoke filled the air. The sky was dark and the ground was broken. Fire burned across the battlefield. Dead machines and fallen soldiers lay everywhere. The war between humans and aliens had left this planet in ruins. A man moved slowly through the dust. His name was Reed, a human warrior. His left arm was bleeding and his leg was hurt badly. He held his side as he walked, breathing hard. His suit was torn and his helmet was cracked. He was the only one left. His team was gone, killed in the last fight. Their mission had failed. Now, Reed was alone on this strange alien moon, far from Earth. He stopped near a fallen ship and leaned against the metal. His body was weak, but his mind stayed sharp. He looked around carefully. The enemy could still be close. Suddenly, he heard a sound. A soft cry. Very quiet. It didn't sound like a soldier or a machine. He moved toward the sound, step by step, through broken trees and rocks. The cry came again, this time a little louder, like a child, or a young voice. Reed reached a small hill. He climbed it and looked down. There, half buried under rubble, was a figure. It was an alien girl. Her skin was light blue, glowing softly, under the moonlight. She was hurt. Her leg was caught under a piece of metal. Her eyes were closed and she looked afraid. Reed raised his gun for a second. She was the enemy. But she wasn't armed, no armor, no weapons. Just a scared, injured girl. He slowly walked closer. She opened her eyes and gasped when she saw him. "Please, don't hurt me," she whispered in a weak voice. Reed paused. He didn't expect her to speak his language. "I won't," he said quietly. He put his gun down. "I'm not your enemy." She looked at him, unsure. "Then why are you here?" "Same reason you are," he answered. "The war." He knelt beside her. "Can you move?" She shook her head. "My leg." Reed used his strength to lift the metal from her. She cried out in pain. He checked her wound. Not good, but not deadly. He pulled out a small medical kit from his belt and started wrapping her leg. "What's your name?" he asked. "Alira," she said softly. "I'm Reed." He helped her sit up. She looked around. "Where are the others?" "Gone," he replied. "Just you and me now." She went quiet. They sat for a moment in silence. Wind moved through the trees. Reed felt cold. Not from the air, from something else. He looked at her again. Something was strange. Around her neck was a small pendant, a dark stone in the center, shaped like a star. It glowed for a second when he touched it by accident. Alira quickly pulled it back under her shirt. "What is that?" Reed asked. "Nothing," she said too fast. Reed didn't believe her, but he didn't push. He helped her stand. She leaned on him. They began to walk toward the hills, looking for shelter. Behind them, hidden in the shadows, a small scout drone hovered silently. It recorded everything, the girl, the human, the pendant. It flew away without sound. Far away, deep in a dark alien base, a red light blinked. A tall figure in black armor stepped forward as the drone's video played on a screen. He watched Reed helping the girl. Then he saw the glowing symbol. His eyes narrowed. "She's alive," the figure said. His voice was deep and cold. "Find them. Bring the girl. Kill the human." Back on the moon's surface, Reed and Alira found a small cave. He laid her down gently and gave her some water. "Rest here," he said. "We'll move at first light." She nodded, her eyes heavy with sleep. Reed sat near the entrance, holding his weapon close. He looked at the stars above. Somewhere out there was Earth, his home. He didn't know who this girl really was, or why someone would try to hide her, but he felt it in his gut. This was no ordinary rescue. Something big had just begun. The fugitive Heiress, cold wind passed through the narrow cave, making the fire flicker. Outside, Night still covered the alien moon in shadows. Inside, Reed sat quietly staring at the girl sleeping beside the flames. He had seen many things in war. Broken cities, dying friends, machines with no heart. But this girl, she was different. She didn't look like a soldier. Her face was too soft, too kind. But something about her felt heavy, like she carried a secret too big for her small frame. The pendant, that strange glow, and the way she had looked at him when he asked about it. Reed didn't sleep. His wounds ached, but not as much as the thoughts in his mind. Who was she really? Suddenly Elira moved. Her body shook like she was trapped in a bad dream. Then she whispered something, in a different language. Soft, ancient, not meant for human ears. Reed leaned in. Elira, he said quietly. She opened her eyes, afraid. Sorry. Nightmare, she said, breathing fast. Do you always dream in other languages, he asked. Her eyes widened for a second. Then she turned away. You were saying names, he continued. And crying. She hugged her knees and looked into the fire. They're gone, she said after a long pause. My family, my home. Reed nodded. Same for me. There was silence between them. But this silence was different. It wasn't empty. It was filled with something unspoken. Can I ask something? He said. You already are. Why were you out there? Alone. In the middle of a battlefield. Elira looked at him. Her eyes were tired, but sharp. You won't believe me. Try me. She touched the pendant around her neck and slowly pulled it out. The glowing stone shimmered again, showing a symbol, 3 stars around a single flame. Reed had never seen it before, but deep inside, he knew it meant something important. I'm not just any alien girl, she said finally. I'm the last of the Solari bloodline. Reed blinked. He had heard that name before. Solari, the royal family that once ruled, one of the most powerful alien empires. Their fall had started the war. But they were killed, he said. All of them. Elira nodded. They tried. My mother hid me before the capital was attacked. I was sent to a secret place. Only one person knew where I was. Who? My father's most trusted guard. But someone betrayed us. My protector was killed. I ran. And then you found me. Reed stood up. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. So you're a princess? Elira smiled a little. No, not anymore. Not when everyone wants me dead. Reed paced the cave, heart pounding. Do they know you're alive? They didn't, she said, until now. He remembered the drone. Damn, he muttered. They saw you, they're coming. Elira nodded. They won't stop. As long as I breathe, I'm a threat to the High Commander's rule. Reed stared at her. You should have told me. You would have left me, she replied. He shook his head. No, but I would have been more careful. Suddenly the fire dimmed. A sharp noise echoed outside. Reed grabbed his gun and moved to the cave entrance. He saw nothing, but his soldier instinct screamed. Danger was close. He turned back. We need to move, now. Elira stood with difficulty. I'm ready. They left the cave and began walking through the dense forest under the moonlight. The sky was still dark, stars bright above them. Where are we going, she asked. Old wreck site, he said. Might be a working radio there. They walked in silence for a while. Then Elira spoke. Why are you helping me? Reed didn't answer right away. Finally, he said, because I was trained to fight aliens, not save them. But I didn't join this war to kill children or hunted girls. Elira looked at him. Thank you. They reached the wreckage of a human dropship, broken, covered in moss and ash. Reed found a panel and tried to power it. Sparks flew, but the screen came to life. Weak signal, but maybe enough. Suddenly, a red light blinked on the screen. "What is it?" Alira asked. "Tracking signal," he said. "They're close." He turned to run, but it was too late. Blast of energy hit the ground beside them. Trees exploded. Fire spread fast. From the sky, 2 hunter crafts landed, black and sharp like insects. Reed grabbed Alira's hand. "Go! Run!" They ran through the forest. Lasers cut through trees. Drones buzzed around them like angry bees. Reed turned and shot one down, then another. He threw a grenade and the explosion shook the earth. But more were coming. Alira tripped and fell. Reed rushed to her, but a tall figure stepped out of the smoke, a bounty hunter, metal armor shining in the firelight. "Give me the girl," the hunter growled. Reed raised his gun. "You'll have to kill me first." The hunter aimed his weapon. But then, Alira's eyes began to glow. Her hands lit up with blue fire. She raised her arms and a wave of force blasted the hunter back into the trees. Reed stood, stunned. "You never said you had powers." Alira looked at her hands, shaking. "I didn't know I still had them." Reed helped her up. "Now I believe everything," he said. "And I'm not leaving your side." Escape from the shadows. The jungle burned behind them. Orange light glowed in the dark trees. Smoke curled through the cold air like silent ghosts. Reed pulled Alira through thick bushes, his arm around her waist. She was breathing hard. Her powers had saved them, but they had also drained her. They didn't speak. There was no time. Behind them, engines roared. The hunter crafts had taken off again. Drones swarmed the sky, scanning, searching. "We need cover," Reed whispered. They moved quickly, staying low. Every step was slow and painful. Reed's old wounds were bleeding again. Alira limped beside him, her legs still weak. Then, in the distance, they saw it. A dark ridge of cliffs, hiding a narrow cave, just wide enough for one person. Reed pointed. "There. Move." They reached the cave and slipped inside. The air was cold and wet. The walls were covered in strange glowing moss, giving the cave a soft green light. Reed helped Alira sit down. Then he turned and used a small explosive to collapse part of the entrance. Not enough to block air, but enough to hide their trail. Finally, silence. They were safe. For now. Hours passed. Alira slept, her head resting on a stone. Reed sat close, by watching the cave's opening, gun ready. He didn't trust the quiet. Something felt wrong. Too quiet, too calm. Like the jungle itself was holding its breath. Then he noticed it. The moss on the cave wall was dying, its glow slowly fading. Reed stood. He moved closer. He touched the moss. Cold. "That's not normal," he muttered. Suddenly, a whisper, a voice. Not from the cave, but from inside his mind. "Return her. She does not belong to you." Reed spun around. No one there. He grabbed his weapon and checked the entrance, still sealed. No sound from outside. He turned back to Alira. She was still sleeping, but now her pendant glowed again, stronger, pulsing like a heartbeat. What the hell is this? The cave walls began to shake. Then, boom, the far end of the cave collapsed. A dark hole opened in the back wall, revealing a hidden tunnel. From that tunnel, a strange creature crawled out, thin, tall, and wrapped in silver skin. Its eyes were white, and it moved like liquid shadow. Reed raised his weapon. "Stop right there." The creature didn't flinch. It simply stared at Alira. "She is marked," it said in a whispering voice. "She carries the flame." Reed stood in front of her. "You're not taking her." The creature tilted its head. Then slowly, it knelt. Reed blinked in shock. "We are not enemies. We are guardians of the old flame. We served the Solari bloodline. Long before the war, Reed lowered his weapon slightly. You knew her family? We protected their secrets. We kept the last door closed. But now, she is awake. Elira stirred. Her eyes opened. She looked at the creature. Her face was calm. You are a shadow warden, she said. The creature bowed its head. Princess, your return was foretold. The throne is not yet dead. Reed looked from one to the other. What is going on? Elira stood slowly. She walked toward the creature. My father once told me, she said, that if all hope was lost, the shadows would light my path. The warden reached out a long hand. In its palm was a small data crystal. This contains the location of the flame vault, it said. Your family's final legacy. The key to saving your people. And maybe his too. It looked at Reed. Reed frowned. What do you mean, my people? The warden stepped back into the shadows. They are not just hunting her. They are using you, your kind, in the vault. You will find the truth. And with that, the creature faded into smoke. Gone. Silence returned. Reed stared at the crystal in Elira's hand. You trust that thing? He asked. Elira nodded. The wardens were loyal to my family. They lived in secret. Even the commander couldn't find them. So this vault, what is it? Elira looked up at him. I don't know. But it may be the only chance we have. Reed sighed. Then we go. The next day, they set out again. They moved through the jungle carefully, avoiding drones. At night, they rested in the ruins of old alien temples. Elira grew stronger each day. Her powers returned slowly. Sometimes she could move small rocks without touching them. Sometimes she could sense machines before they came close. Reed watched her closely. She was changing, not just healing, but becoming something more. He felt different too. His connection to her was growing, but also a strange pain in his side, where she had touched him when using her powers. Something was happening to him. He kept it hidden. On the fourth night, they finally reached the location marked by the crystal. A canyon. Deep. Silent. At the bottom, hidden under vines and stone, was a black door. Reed touched it. Nothing. Elira stepped forward. She placed her hand on the door. It opened. Inside was darkness. Reed turned on his light and looked around. It wasn't a vault. It was a chamber of memories. Walls covered in holograms, old records, royal messages, maps of stars. And in the center, a machine. Strange, tall, built with both alien and human parts. Reed walked up to it. A screen turned on. A message played. Project Hybrid, final stage ready. Human-alien evolution begins, using the Solari flame and Earth DNA. Reed stepped back in shock. They were experimenting? Elira stared in horror. No, they were trying to combine our kinds. Reed's voice was cold. Your people were building a new species, using mine. Elira didn't speak. Suddenly, alarms rang through the chamber. Drones were here. They had found the vault. Truth beneath the stars. The vault trembled. Sparks lit the shadows as drones blasted open the sealed door above. Stone and metal rained down from the ceiling. The alarm screamed through the ancient walls. Reed grabbed Elira's arm. We need to move. Now. But Elira didn't run. Her eyes were locked on the machine in front of them, the one pulsing with soft blue light. The screen repeated the message. Project Hybrid. Combining Solari flame with Earth DNA. Testing complete. Subject remains unstable. Reed turned to her. You knew nothing about this? Elira shook her head, voice shaking. No. This is not my people's work. This is something my father tried to stop. Another blast shook the chamber. From the shadows above, Small flying drones dropped in, insect-like red lights blinking. Reed fired without hesitation. 3 shots. 2 drones fell. The third exploded near his leg. He groaned but kept moving. "Go," he shouted. They ran through a side hallway that lit up automatically. Old systems still lived in this place, hidden deep beneath the planet's surface. They stopped inside a control room, walls covered in glass panels and alien symbols. There, glowing in the center, was a projection of the stars. Elira touched it. A map spread across the room, planet after planet, systems, routes, and files. One file blinked red. Operation Helix. She opened it. A video played. An old message, her father's voice. "If you are seeing this, then our empire is lost. The commander betrayed us. He wants to merge our kind with humans, not for peace but for power. He believes the Solari flame is not a gift, but a weapon. He will use human DNA to stabilize it, to create perfect soldiers, perfect rulers. I have locked this knowledge away. If my daughter lives, tell her, never trust the ones who want to unite the stars with blood." The screen faded. Reed stood frozen. His hands shook slightly. "So that's what this is all about," he whispered. "Your flame, my DNA." Elira turned. "Reed, I didn't know." But Reed stepped back. "Then why did your powers change?" "Me?" Her eyes widened. "What do you mean?" He pulled back his shirt. A thin blue mark ran along his ribs, glowing faintly. The same color as her flame. "I thought it was just a scar. But it's growing." Elira reached out slowly and touched it. A soft energy moved between them, warm and strange. Then she pulled away, scared. "You're reacting to me, to the flame. It's already begun." Reed backed away. "So I'm becoming one of them?" "No," she said firmly. "You're becoming something else, something new." Above them, the ceiling cracked. Then, boom, the drones broke through. This time, they weren't alone. A figure dropped through the smoke. Tall, clad in black armor, red eyes glowing. He walked, calmly as if nothing could touch him. The High Commander had arrived. He looked at Elira. "Princess," he said with a small smile. "You're alive after all." Elira stood firm. "Traitor." He tilted his head. "Truth is a matter of timing. I didn't betray the throne. I simply evolved it." Reed aimed his gun. "Come any closer." Before he could finish, the commander raised one hand, and Reed flew backward, slamming into the wall. Not by touch, not by weapon, by flame. The commander had it too. "You thought you were the only one," he said, turning to Elira. "Your father used to say the flame was sacred. He was wrong. It's just power. And power belongs to those willing to use it." Elira stood between him and Reed. "You used my people, and now you want to use his." The commander stepped forward. "The humans are already broken. Their world is dying. With the hybrid program, they can be reborn. We can be gods." Elira looked back at Reed. He was trying to get up, blood on his face. "You're not a god," she said. "You're a thief." With that, her hands lit up with fire. But the commander was faster. He launched a wave of flame. Elira blocked it, but the force threw her across the room. Glass shattered. The star map flickered. "You're still weak," he said. "The full flame needs a match." He walked toward her, calm, unstoppable. But then, Reed stood up, eyes glowing slightly, breathing heavy. He aimed his weapon. Not at the commander, but at the vault core behind him. "You want the flame? You want your machines?" He pulled the trigger. Boom. The chamber exploded in fire and light. Reed woke up outside. His ears rang. His vision was blurry. The vault was gone, collapsed into the ground. Smoke rose high into the alien sky. Beside him, Elira lay still, her arm covered in ash. But she was alive. He shook her gently. "Wake up." She opened her eyes slowly. "I thought you were dead," she whispered. Not yet. They sat up together. What happened to him? She asked. Reed looked back. No sign of the commander. Buried, he said. Maybe not forever. But for now. She looked down at his ribs. The mark had spread. But now it pulsed with balance, not chaos. Elira touched it. The vault may be gone, she said. But its spark is still alive. In you. Reed sighed. Great, now I'm a science project. She smiled. You're more than that, you're the bridge. He looked at her. Between our worlds? She nodded. He stood slowly and held out his hand. Then let's find out what that really means. Far above them, in a hidden station orbiting the moon, another set of eyes watched the screen. The commander's mask lay cracked on the table. A different voice spoke into the shadows. Activate Phase 2. If the girl and the hybrid survive, bring them to me. The real war hasn't even begun. Allies in the dark rain fell from the alien sky. Cold, silent drops tapping on leaves and broken metal. The moon's jungle was quiet now. Too quiet. Reed and Elira moved slowly through the wet terrain. Smoke from the destroyed vault still curled into the air behind them, fading into the clouds above. They didn't speak for a long time. Both were tired, wounded, changed. Reed's body ached, but it wasn't just pain. Something inside him was shifting, growing. The mark on his ribs now reached his chest, glowing faintly with every heartbeat. It pulsed when Elira was near, and burned when danger approached. He didn't understand it, not fully, and Elira? She hadn't stopped watching. The skies, her eyes once soft and warm, now held a sharp edge, the kind only a hunted soul could carry. You okay? Reed asked. She nodded but didn't look at him. You don't have to carry this alone, he added. I do, she said quietly, because the moment I let someone else carry it, they get hurt. Reed didn't answer. He understood. By nightfall, they reached a small mountain pass. There, hidden between two cliffs, was what looked like an abandoned communications tower. Rusted, dead, forgotten. But when Elira touched a stone near the entrance, a light flashed. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside, a hidden world came alive. Dim lights flickered on. Steel walls hummed softly. Screens blinked. Maps. Signals. Energy readings. Reed followed her in. Gun raised. What is this place? He asked. An old rebel station, Elira said. Before the commander took power, some of my people tried to resist. They built this. Suddenly, a voice echoed from above. Identify yourself. Reed aimed his gun at the ceiling. Elira stepped forward. This is Elira of the Solari line. Code, Shadowstar 73. A pause. Then the voice returned, softer now. We've been waiting. Door opened. Steps echoed from a side hall. A group of figures appeared. They weren't like the commander's soldiers. They wore old armor mixed with scraps built for speed, not control. Their eyes were sharp, some alien, some human, all rebels. Their leader stepped forward, a tall alien woman with dark green skin and a long scar across her jaw. Princess, she said, bowing her head slightly. We thought you were dead. Almost, Elira replied. But not yet. The woman looked at Reed. And the human? Reed nodded. Still deciding if I'm dead or not. The leader gave a small grin. Name's Vetra, she said. Commander of what's left of the Flame Guard. And if you're with her, you're with us. They were taken to a command room. Maps covered the walls, some digital, others hand-drawn. Small models showed battle plans, old routes, safe zones. Vetra pointed to a blinking red mark on the star map. This, she said, is the location of the next phase. The commander didn't just want to merge your DNA with Solari powers. He wanted to mass-produce it, build hybrid armies. Faster, stronger, obedient. Reed clenched his fist. And he was using human prisoners? Vetra nodded. Your people were taken from the outer colonies. Tested, twisted. Some didn't survive. The ones who did weren't really people anymore. Elira looked at Reed. This is what we must stop. Reed looked at the map. Where's the lab? A mobile base, Vetra said. Underground. It moves every cycle. But we tracked its last signal here, on the dark moon of Ecros. Reed stared at the planet's image, a dead-looking sphere with black clouds swirling. Great, he muttered. Looks friendly. Later that night, Reed stood outside the station, looking up at the stars. The rain had stopped. The sky was clearer now. He could almost see Earthstar from here. Elira walked up beside him. You miss it? She asked. Every second, he said. But it's not the same anymore. I wouldn't know where to go. You still have a choice, she said. Reed looked at her. Do you? She was quiet for a moment, then she said, I was never meant to lead. I was trained to listen, to obey, but now, there's no one left to give me orders. Then write your own, Reed said. Because people are still watching. The next morning they prepared to leave. Vetra gave them both new gear, light, flexible, and coded to rebel signals. As they boarded a small stealth ship, Vetra spoke privately to Elira. There's something else, she said. Something we haven't told anyone. She handed her a small data cube. Our spies inside the commander's circle. They believe he's not working alone. Elira frowned. What do you mean? There's another force behind him, Vetra said. Something older than the Solari Empire. Older than both our species, a hidden council. They call themselves the Circle of Ash. Elira took the cube and nodded. Then she joined Reed in the ship. As they flew through the stars, the mood changed. This wasn't just escape anymore. This was war. Reed sat in silence. His hand touched the mark on his chest. It was glowing again. But this time it didn't feel wrong. It felt like a compass, a warning system, or a doorway. Elira stared out the window. What happens if we lose? She asked. Reed looked at her. We don't, he said. She smiled, tired but hopeful. Meanwhile, far away, in the dark halls of an ancient station floating in deep space, masked figures stood around a long table. Their robes were black. Their eyes were silver. One of them held a broken piece of armor, the commander's mask. The girl is becoming a queen, one said. And the hybrid is waking up, said another. Then it's time, said the tallest figure. Begin the final awakening. Let the seed inside him bloom. The mask was placed on fire. The flames turned blue. Human no more. The ship flew through deep space, silent, smooth, and cloaked in shadows. Inside, Reed sat alone. The stars outside blurred as they passed into the edge of Ecros space. The dark moon where the High Commander's hybrid lab was hidden. But Reed wasn't thinking about the mission. He was thinking about the thing growing inside him. His chest burned, not with fire, but with something worse. Something alive. The blue mark had spread. Now it covered his left arm and part of his neck. It pulsed under his skin like light trapped in veins. At night, it whispered to him, not in words, but in memory. He had seen faces he didn't know, places he had never been, and something darker, a symbol burned into every vision, a ring of black flames. Elira entered the control room quietly. She saw Reed leaning over the ship's console, breathing hard. Is it worse? She asked. He didn't look at her. It's not pain. It's pressure. Like something wants out. She walked over and placed her hand near his. He pulled away. Don't, he said. I don't know what I'll do if I lose control. You won't, she said firmly. Reed looked at her. You think I'm still me? He said. But I don't know if I am. What if the commander already changed me? What if I'm the weapon they were building? Elira stepped closer. Then I'll stop you, she said softly. But not because I'm afraid of you. Because I believe in you. And I know the real you is still in there. Later, as they approached, Ecros, Vetra's voice came through the comms. We've tracked movement near the old mining base. The lab is underneath. Be careful. If the commander is alive, he won't be hiding this time. The ship landed in silence on a rocky ridge. Black clouds moved across the sky like smoke from a dying fire. Reed and Elira stepped out, armed and ready. Their rebel suits blended into the landscape. The mining base below looked abandoned. But as they moved closer, they saw it. Faint, lights under the surface glowing in patterns only visible with heat vision. Elira touched the side of the mountain. A hidden door slid open. They entered. The hallway was silent, lined with strange machines. Unlike Solari tech, this looked older and human. Reed stopped. This place wasn't built by your people. Elira nodded slowly. No, it wasn't. They walked deeper. Every step took them closer to something ancient and terrible. Then, they found it. A large chamber, cold, bright. Rows of tubes lined the walls, each holding a floating figure. Men and women, some human, some Solari, some both, some with marks like Reed's, all unconscious, some twitching in pain. Reed stared, horrified. They turned people into weapons. Elira walked to a nearby terminal. Her hand hovered over the controls. But before she could touch it, the room shook. A voice echoed through hidden speakers. You came too late. The lights dimmed. From the far side of the chamber, a door opened, and the High Commander stepped out. His armor was different, now darker, fused with black veins of glowing energy. His eyes were no longer red, but silver. I died in the vault, he said, but the circle of ash gave me new life, stronger, cleaner, purer. Reed raised his weapon. I'll make sure you die again. The commander smiled. You already carry my legacy hybrid. Why fight it? Reed stepped forward, but his body trembled. The mark on his arm burned. His gun dropped. He fell to one knee. The commander raised a hand. The seed is blooming. The more you fight it, the faster it grows. Elira rushed to Reed's side. She looked up, eyes blazing with light. You'll never control him. The commander laughed. You misunderstand. I don't want to control him. I want him to choose us, to burn the galaxy by will, not by force. He stepped closer. And then, Reed screamed. His body lifted off the ground. Energy exploded around him, a mix of human rage and Solari flame. The tubes on the walls shattered. The hybrids inside began to move. Alarms blared. Reed's mind flooded with visions. War, fire, stars falling. He saw himself standing on a mountain of ash, at his side. Elira, crowned, distant. In his hand, a burning sword. He opened his eyes. The chamber around him was frozen. Not in time, but in fear. The commander was watching. The hybrids stared. Reed's skin glowed with light and shadow. He looked at his hands. He wasn't human anymore. But he was still himself. He turned toward the commander. You want a weapon? He growled. I'm not yours. Then he raised both hands and released a shockwave of pure energy. It hit the commander like a hammer, throwing him across the room and into a wall. Elira grabbed Reed. Are you still with me? She asked. Reed looked at her. His eyes were glowing, but tears ran down his face. I'm still me. She smiled through the tears. Then let's end this. Together they turned toward the remaining hybrids. Some attacked, confused, broken, wild, but others paused. They looked at Reed. One, hybrid, a young woman, part Solari, part human, stepped forward. She knelt. We hear you, she said softly. We are not tools. Reed looked around. Half the hybrids stopped fighting. They weren't enemies, they were victims, waking up from nightmares. The commander roared and rose again, flames building in his hands. But this time, Reed didn't face him alone. Elira stood at his side. The rebels landed above, and the awakened hybrids formed a wall behind them. Your war is over, Elira said. The commander's fire died in his hands. For the first time, he looked afraid. Reed stepped forward. You tried to break me. Instead, you helped me become more. Then, with one blast of light, the commander was consumed, burned into shadow, then gone. The lab fell silent. Later, under the stars, the survivors stood on the surface of Ecros. Vitra arrived with the rebel fleet. The hybrids, now free, were taken to a safe colony. Reed sat quietly on a rock. Elira sat beside him. You chose yourself, she said. I almost didn't, he replied. But you did. He looked at the stars. So what now? She smiled. Now we rebuild. He smiled back. And if they come again? She stood and offered her hand. Then they'll find out what happens. When fire and flesh fight. Together. He took her hand and rose as something the galaxy had never seen before. The warrior and the throne, the stars over the rebel capital flickered like dying embers. Far above the city, a massive storm of energy spiraled in space, a sign that something ancient was waking. Inside the war room, Elira stood before a gathering of commanders, alien, human, and hybrid. Maps filled the screens. Red warnings blinked across the galaxy. The circle of ash had begun their final move. Reed leaned against the wall, watching the storm reports. His body still glowed with quiet power, a balance of human strength and Solari flame. He was stronger, now. Faster. Sharper. But he was also more distant. The transformation had left a scar inside his soul. They're not hiding anymore, Vatra said. The Circle's main fleet just appeared near the Solari ruins. They're trying to take the throne world. They want the symbol. The crown. Elira nodded. Not just the crown. The throne is more than a seat. It's a source. The flame inside it can only be touched by one of the bloodline. She looked at Reed. He didn't say a word. That night, Elira found Reed sitting alone on the rooftop of the rebel citadel. The sky was clear. The stars didn't look dangerous from this high up. You've been quiet, she said. He didn't. Look at her. I'm not sure what I am anymore. You're the one who saved me, she replied. Twice. And destroyed everything in the process, he said. My DNA carries their code, their plan. What if I'm just a different version of the commander? Elira walked over and sat beside him. You're not, she said, because he wanted control, and you've only ever wanted choice. They sat in silence. Then she said, I'm going to the throne world. I have to claim it, or they will. Reed looked at her. Then I'm going with you. They left at dawn. The ship was quiet. Just Elira, Reed, and a small team of rebels and hybrids. Vatra stayed behind to guard the capital. She had her own war to fight. As they neared the Solari throne world, once the heart of the empire, now a graveyard of broken cities, the clouds above were black with flame. Circle ships filled the sky. Strange designs, ancient tech. Their weapons pulsed like heartbeat drums, Elira whispered. We're not just fighting the Circle, we're fighting the past. Reed placed his hand on the control panel. Then let's end it for good. They landed near the ruins of the Solar Throne, a massive structure carved into a mountain half buried in glass and stone. It had been untouched for decades. Elira walked forward. The air grew warm. She could feel the flame calling, but they weren't alone. From the shadows, tall figures emerged. The Council of the Ash, 12 in total, robes black as night, their faces hidden behind silver masks. One stepped forward. His voice was cold. Ancient, you come to take the throne, but you are not ready. Elira stood firm. You killed my family, hunted me, poisoned my people, and still I stand. Another council voice echoed, soft and cruel. We didn't kill the Solari. They destroyed themselves trying to keep the flame from us. Reed stepped forward. Then you'll have to go through me to get it now. The Circle members raised their hands. The air cracked with energy. Suddenly, the ground split open. Ancient machines rose from beneath the throne, forgotten weapons. Guardians of the old empire. The sky turned red. Battle began. Explosions rocked the ruins. Reed moved like lightning, fists glowing, fire bursting with each strike. His powers had grown. But so had the pain. Every move pulled at his mind. He could feel something inside, wanting to take over. A darker version of himself. A weapon. Elira faced the lead council member alone. Their powers clashed. Gold flame versus black ash. Every hit sent shockwaves through the throne chamber. But the Circle's plan wasn't to kill her. It was to corrupt the throne. As Elira reached the seat of power, the great stone heart of the empire, the Circle began chanting. Ancient words. A ritual. Dark flames circled the throne. They're rewriting the flame, she whispered, trying to bind it to them. Reed reached her side, bleeding, glowing, breathing hard. Then stopped them. Elira hesitated. If I touch the flame while it's infected, it could burn me alive. Reed grabbed her hand. Then we do it together. She looked into his eyes. Then they stepped onto the platform, hand in hand. The flames roared. A wave of energy slammed into them. The world vanished. Inside the flame, there was nothing, just light. Endless. Blinding. Then, voices. Memories. Elira saw her childhood, her parents, their last words. Reed saw Earth, his old life, his brother's face, the war. Then, they saw each other, and they saw the Circle. Though, truth, the Circle had existed long before either species. They were not alien or human. They were survivors of fallen empires, each one born from ruin, feeding on flame, stealing from the weak. They didn't serve peace. They served endings. Elira screamed. Reed roared. Together they reached for the heart of the throne and rewrote the flame, not as a weapon but as a choice. On the outside, the throne exploded with white fire. The Circle screamed. Their bodies cracked, turning to dust. The sky above cleared. The machines stopped. The war ended. Later, the throne stood silent. Reed walked alone through the ruins. He had survived the flame, but not unchanged. His skin still glowed. His blood was still both. But now the mark no longer burned. Elira stood on the rebuilt platform, her crown simple, her robes clean. She looked tired, but alive. When Reed approached, she smiled. You came back? Wasn't sure I would, he said. She held out her hand. This throne isn't for me alone. The flame chose both of us, he shook his head. I'm not a king. No, she said. You're something better. A bridge. She turned to the stars. Will you help me rebuild a world where no one is hunted for what they are? Reed looked at her, then nodded. Always. Far away in the cold dark between galaxies, a small spark floated. One Circle member survived. His eyes opened, and he whispered into the void. Flames rise again, and shadows follow.